Good evening, everyone. I'll now call the August 13th, 2024 Bermuda Run Town Council meeting to order. Can the folks in back hear me okay? Great, thank you. As a reminder, please silence your phones. Thank you. I want to recognize that we have a quorum. We have all 5 council members here tonight. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Join me if you can. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is the intent of the Town Council to make solemn the proceedings of this meeting and the business brought before the governing board, to offer the opportunity for a reflective moment of silence. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Item number 4, Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics Statement. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Pursuant to North Carolina Statutes 160A 86 and 160D 109, and the Town of Bermuda Run Code of Ethics Policy adopted November 9, 2010, and further endorsed on August 9, 2022, I would ask each of you before you adopt the agenda if there's any actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the proposed agenda which will come before the Town Council for a vote at this meeting tonight. If so, please speak up and let the council know at this time before the agenda is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Item number 5, adoption of the agenda. Council's had an opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any revisions or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tedder, second by Ms. Nelson. Show of hands in favor. Thank you. 5-0. Item number 6, approval of the July 9, 2024 Town Council meeting minutes. Council's had an opportunity to review the agenda. Any revisions or edits?
I move they be approved as written.
Second.
Mr. Ernst? Ms. Zeliga? Show of hands? 5-0. Thank you, Council. Item number 7, citizens' comments. We have one individual that signed up tonight to speak, Mr. Gary LeBlanc. Mr. Williams, please explain our rules for citizens' comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. During this period, each speaker shall be allowed a total of 3 minutes to speak and shall immediately stop when his or her 3 minutes are up. The speaker shall address the council as a whole and shall not ask for any verbal exchange back from the council. It's not the intent of the public comment period to require the council to answer any impromptu questions. There shall be no discussion between the speaker and the members of the audience. Mr. Meadwell will be the timekeeper and will inform you at the 30-second time remaining spot when your time is up. And also, before you address the council, please state your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Gary LeBlanc. I chair the Davie County Board of Elections, and it is an election issue that I'm here to talk to you about tonight. Esteemed members of the Town Council, Mayor Brannan, the Commission on the Future of North Carolina Education convened its second meeting at Catawba College last month to discuss the findings on the safety and security of the North Carolina election system. They also made recommendations for improvements. What they found showed that North Carolina elections are currently administered securely and professionally, with slight improvements recommended. The timing of the report is excellent as we head into the 2024 election. They found that 29% of likely voters in North Carolina lack trust in the election system. To quote, "We know that we have a growing state. Election laws have changed. Voting districts have changed. And the number of people voting has grown since 2020, said committee co-chair of the North Carolina Network of Fair and Free and Secure Elections, Bob Orr. Mr. Orr is an attorney, a jurist, a politician, and former North Carolina Supreme Court Justice and Republican candidate for governor in 2008. The committee was also comprised of 11 cross-partisan teams composed of scholars, business leaders, and community members. Each diligently examined the topic of voter access, registration, ballot security, and cybersecurity measures to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the electoral process. More than 60 commission members represented the geographic, racial, age, ideological, and gender diversity of the state, with individuals from various sectors, including businesses, legal, and academic communities. The commission found that ballot integrity and vote counting is highly secured in North Carolina. They also found that people need to be aware that we have a paper backup for every single vote that can be traced to a legal resident. We also have a strict ballot machine certification protocol, and these laws against any electronic balloting marking devices that are connected to the internet. There are none. The ES&S machines that we use in Davie County are nothing more than a printer and a calculator, and neither have an internal computer. The public awareness initiative suggested that we increase voter trust through educational outreach. Allegations of fraud are minuscule in the state of North Carolina. The survey conducted that shows between the years of 2015 and 2022, it found only 674 of all votes cast were alleged to be fraudulent. 674 out of 19 million cast. There are redundant systems in place that catch fraud and human errors when they do occur. The committee found that we need to increase awareness of the voter ID requirements, as they're not quite as straightforward as they can be. To that end, I have been asked and given permission and the opportunity to speak on behalf of election security and fairness. It's a granular look at elections and how they work. A presentation I will be giving is scheduled for October 8th at 10 a.m. at the Davie County Senior Services Center in Mocksville. The public is invited, and I'm hoping that all of you can attend the event. It's incumbent for those that share an interest in ensuring elections are fair and free, get the message out to people that, in fact, they are. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope to see you on October 8th.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc.
Hey, Gary, was that 10 or 11, did you say? 10 or 11?
It's at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, presentations. Mr. Pat Ivy, North Carolina Department of Transportation, Highway Division 9, Division Engineer. As I ask Pat to step forward, I'll remind our audience that council is welcome to ask questions, but we will not take questions from the audience, as this is our protocol in town council meetings. If you do have questions, I encourage you to contact the town, and we will forward those questions to Mr. Ivy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brannon and council members. It's always a pleasure to be back in Bermuda Run. Tonight, my Deputy Division Engineer, John Ryan, and I are going to tag team. I'm going to turn it over to John and let him give you a good update on the projects that are currently under construction or being planned in this area. Then I'll come in afterwards and just sort of finalize everything and talk about funding and future projects moving forward, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much. John?
Thank y'all for having us. I'll walk through this and try and address the main issues. Agenda, we've got 3 points. We're going to cover local projects, some pedestrian projects that y'all have in the works, and then some future projects in the area. Just a little background for the North Carolina Department of Transportation. The state is broken into 14 divisions, as you can see on the screen there. We are in Division 9, 5 counties in Division 9, Stokes at the northern border, Forsyth, Davie, Davidson, and Rowan. Around 843,000 people and roughly 5,000 road miles that we maintain. 836 bridges with 453 permanent employees when we have them all filled. If you know of any good candidates, send them our way. We're always looking for good employees. And like most places, struggling to find them nowadays. Moving into local projects. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be giving Andrew the nod. First local project we have is Baltimore Road, just to the west of town here. Baltimore Road's been on the books for quite a while now. Baltimore Road project is an extension of Baltimore Road out through the woods going north to I-40. Two-lane road traveling north, an extension of Baltimore Road there, and then building a interchange on I-40, help alleviate some of that industrial traffic in the area. On the aerial there, it's a little hard to see, but you can kind of get the gist of it. Baltimore Road will be realigned from its current location there on 158 at the church. It will be moved west a little bit, and then it will head up through the woods. And you can see the interchange that we are proposing to build there along I-40. Currently, the plans are 75% complete. We're in the right-of-way acquisition process that started recently. We're also in the permitting process with our federal agencies, our permitting partners. The let for that, the construction documents in development, the let for that is October of 2025. So about a year from now, that'll go to construction. Probably won't see a whole lot going on between October and the winter there, 25, 26, but spring of 26, we should see the world open up and that project really start in earnest. A little bit of utility relocation you'll probably see along 158, but the majority of the work, as you can see, is going to be up through the woods there beyond eyesight. Obviously, where we put the bridge in on I-40, that will be very visual and everybody can see stuff going on there. So we look forward to that one.
Real quickly, before we leave that, just for context for the audience, there are some that are assuming that this is a full, regular exchange that has both north and south. In this case, it's solely an exchange that takes you onto the southern portion, this new Baltimore Road. There is no road going north of 40.
That is correct.
It terminates at I-40. As opposed to people thinking it goes on further north,
it does not go
intersects with
further.
801 or whatever. It does not.
You are correct. And in those aerials, you can see the terminus there where we make the loop to the westbound lanes on and off, and that's the end of the project. Yep, you are correct. And there was some debate about that early on in some of the revisions and whatnot, but the scope of this project was just for an interchange, not further. Yep. A couple more local projects we've got, just in its final stages. Just really completed the roundabout that was built at Farmington Road in 158. Got that in just in time for school to start. They're going to do a little repaving there at night, smooth things up a little bit. And then obviously we've got to wait for erosion control for the grass to come in, and we'll wrap that project up. But so far, I've heard positive things about it. I hope that helps with the traffic there in the morning in the school system. The next project y'all are very familiar with. This is our landscape project here that followed up with the bridge over the Yadkin River. It's our 911AL landscape project, and that is in the final stages as well. They tell me it's about 93% complete. You probably see some dead trees here or there. They'll have to go back and replace those, and then we'll move into the warranty phase of that, where the contractor will maintain them and everything. And then at the completion of that, I believe we have an agreement, and we turn over the maintenance of those landscaping items over to the town. So I think that really looks good out there, especially when everything was in bloom a couple months ago. This one's a little further out, but I still think it's of interest because I think probably most of y'all travel through here. This is U6004. This is Louisville Clemens Road. Modernization, operational improvements along Louisville Clemens Road from Peace Haven just to the north of I-40 down to 158, and then a little bit of work on 158. It's a ways out, very complex project. A lot of right-of-way utility issues, as you can imagine, trying to do anything on that road. Right-of-way is September of 2024, so right around the corner. The let for that is not until October of 2026. Getting all the right-of-way for that secured and all the utilities moved will be a massive undertaking. And then the cost estimate there is $69 million, so not a small project at all. Moving on to a couple more, these are STBGDA projects, if you want a tongue twister. These are projects through the MPO, and like I said, a little closer to home, these are two pedestrian projects that the town applied for and was granted. The first is Phase 3 of the Blue Heron Trail. Sorry for the picture, this is about as good as I can get, but y'all know the area. The north side of 158 from Royal Tune Drive, west to NC 801, 4/10 of a mile. But along Ace Hardware and Speedway, the dry cleaners, through the old Bermuda Quay Shopping Center there. The intent is to install a paved asphalt trail, 10-foot wide, along 158 in the right-of-way. The funding's been approved. The next phases of that project is hiring an engineering firm, working through the plans and the permits, any right-of-way or utilities, and then letting a contract, awarding that to a contractor to build.
So essentially, this is today Blue Heron Trail Phase 1 that is complete, that makes that northbound turn at Steelman Hardware. This will continue that west, same width, same design, clear to 801. So essentially, we'll be creating a T, one that will take you to Kenderton, one will take you along the path clear to 801.
Yep, and you can just see the existing trail. It's a pretty updated aerial. You can just see that existing trail there behind Ace Hardware making a northward turn and going up to the box culvert into the residential section. The next project here, the next local project, is NC 801 sidewalk, and ties in very well with the Phase 3. This is a traditional sidewalk, 5-foot sidewalk on the west side of NC 801, going along McDonald's and Wendy's, up through there, crosses I-40, crosses the ramps, and then up to Yadkin Valley up there at the hospital. Again, funding's been approved for through the MPO. Same phases, engineering, plans, permits, right-of-way utilities, contract, and then construction. The estimate for that's $1,072,000.
I want to point out that these two pedestrian projects, unlike the typical transportation projects, these two projects will have a 20% town match. So part of us applying for this is the recognition and council's approval that we were going to intend to match that 20% to the total cost for both of these pedestrian. That would not be the case for a typical road widening project or whatever, but because these are pedestrian specific to the town, that's how that approach works.
Yep, through the MPO, yep. We'll move on to some future projects. These are all listed in our prioritization 7.0, or our SPOT program, as we call it. The first one here, it's a little hard to see. The colors don't lend themselves very well here. I apologize. But this is a widening of US 158 starting in Forsyth County, Louisville Clemens Road there, where we talked about the upcoming project in 2026. But widening US 158 westwardly down to the entrance to Bermuda Run. The description, and these are just in rough scope at this point. These are not hard concrete defined, but the widening of the existing roadway to a 3-lane section with curbing and gutter, bike lanes and sidewalk from Louisville Clemens to Harper Road. It's 2-lane, pretty narrow right through there right now. And then what we call a road diet from Harper Road to the Bermuda Run entrance, the bridge there. It's a 4-lane, 5-lane, it kind of transitions through there. But the idea would be to narrow that down. If you drive through there very often, you'll notice there's a lot of pavement and not a lot of cars. So the idea is that we can narrow that down and perhaps put in bike lanes or water shoulders or whatnot. Estimated cost, and these are ballpark because these are so early in their life cycle, is $76 million. The next one, a little closer to home. This is NC 801 from 158 south. The exact description is Oak Valley Boulevard on the south end to US 158, 1.8 miles, widened to a multi-lane road with bike lanes and sidewalk. Estimated cost, $73 million. Pricey little project. But as y'all well know, a very busy, congested section of roadway. Our next one we've got is kind of going in the other direction.
But before we leave that one, I know, Pat, we had a brief discussion on this, but the one idea and one question being raised by residents, especially some of the folks in Oak Valley and south, was rather than it be 4 lanes plus bike paths plus pedestrian pathway, the concept of when we get to this design phase, potentially swapping bike lanes and pedestrian path for perhaps some sort of a multi-use path that would take bikes off of 801 and put them on that pedestrian path or that multi-use path, much like we would have on the Blue Heron Trail.
Yep.
So it's as an option, but we're not ready to design it yet, but the idea being this would be a concept so that you wouldn't have cars and bikes side by side going 45 mile an hour on the roadway.
Yep. I think both riders and drivers would probably appreciate that approach. On the west side of our intersection out here, this is US 158. The description is from Baltimore Road to NC 801, 1.5 miles, 1.6 miles. The idea there is to widen the existing roadway to 2-lane section with center turn lanes where needed, curb and gutter, bike lanes, and sidewalks. It also included adding additional turn lanes at the intersection with NC 801 and a through lane on NC 801 northbound. Right there where we just constructed that, well, not just constructed, but constructed the right turn lane a year ago, I guess, at this point. The estimated cost on that one is $47 million. So none of these are cheap. The last one we've got on our list is actually the intersection. This is the intersection of 158 and NC 801, just down the road here. It's roughly a half a mile in total length. You add up all the legs. Upgrade the existing intersection by adding left turn lane on US 158 eastbound, turning onto NC 801 north as everybody from the west is coming. And then add right turn and through lane on NC 801 at the intersection of 158. You might notice it mentions right turn lane. That was written before that right turn lane project we completed about a year ago. So obviously some updating would go into that. This one's priced a little more reasonable, $3.5 million. So compared to the other ones, that's a bargain. We can just get somebody to write a check. Next slide here, a little hard to see, but it is a comment to our funding and those, where did you go, Pat? And those projects related to what we can afford and how we move forward in our spot process.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, John. I think y'all see why John is my deputy now. All of the projects that we talked about, I thank you and hope you paid close attention to those cost estimates that we've got on there, 76 million, 73 million, 46. As you know, since COVID, statewide, really nationwide, we have seen a tremendous impact on inflation, what it has done to our costs of our projects. We, in North Carolina, since then, our funding levels have actually remained pretty consistent in terms of the amount of revenue that we get from the gasoline tax and the various fees that make up the DOT budget. Unfortunately, the dollar does not go nearly as far as it used to, and that's what we're affected with right now. And that's really what I wanted to spend a couple of moments going through with you on the amount of money that's available as we go through this next version of the Transportation Improvement Program that we're working on right now. John shared with you the list of projects in this area that we are evaluating and considering for possible funding in that category here. Well, the sheet that you have in front of you is the available funding that we have across the state, and I want to talk about specifically this area, Division 9, and the region that we share with Greensboro in Division 7. If you'll look at the top part of that, of course, as you all know, the STI, the Strategic Transportation Investment Law, basically funds projects in three categories: the statewide level, regional impact level, and then division needs category. Statewide, as you know, is all data driven. Those projects were released, I think, about a month or so ago. Unfortunately, Division 9 did not get any statewide projects. In fact, Greensboro only got one. The majority of those projects have been historically going to places like Charlotte, Raleigh, where they've got tremendous congestion and safety issues compared to other areas across the state. So we have always relied on regional impact and division needs category for funding of our projects in Division 9 and in this particular region here. So as we look at the amount of funding available, I want to talk to you a little bit about how we arrived at that number. It's a little complicated, so I want to try to break it down just a little bit. You see, Division 9 is included in Region D. We share that region with Division 7 in Greensboro. And you see right here, it says that we have funding available for this region of $458 million. Thank goodness. There are some areas across the state that have significant deficits that they're having to cover. But in our area, the allocation started out with about $1.9 billion. We took out the Board of Transportation approved back in the summer or back in the spring using a 5% inflation rate for our funding. So they reduced that amount by some $247 million to accommodate or take into consideration inflation, what we believe inflation will do over the next 5 years. And then, of course, looking at the amount of money that we already had programmed, taking that out of it, that's where we got the $458 million. That is good. We at least have an opportunity to get some projects on the regional level, and those are the primary roads, the US and NC routes, which of course, projects like we've already talked about on 801 and US 158, all are considered for that particular category, as are projects like the Winston-Salem Northern Beltway, which do tend to score very, very well. So all those projects have to compete, and we also compete with those projects that are submitted by Division 7 in Greensboro. That's what the regional level is for. So with that, we will look at that, see where those numbers fall out, where those projects fall out once they are prioritized based on the local input points that you all and the MPO and the division have done, and we will see which projects actually are funded. What I wanted to do is focus a little bit more on the next portion of the chart where you see Division 9. Go back one if you would. Right there, Division 9, you see that little negative $15 million. Well, what that simply means, and it's exactly what you think it means, we are $15 million over-programmed in this division. That is for a couple of reasons. Obviously, we have a lot of projects that are currently in the TIP. Those numbers have to be backed out. We have added the inflation cost, and basically what that means is the projects that are in the current TIP in the committed category exceed the available funding in this next version of the TIP by $15 million. What does that mean? Number one, it means there will be no new projects considered in the division needs category for this 2-year version of the TIP. You all know we redo these programs every 2 years, which is a good thing because it gives us another opportunity just a short distance down the road. Otherwise, there's no new projects. Secondly, we've got to cover that $15 million. There are no free lunches, as they say, but there are some divisions that have significant overages. $15 million is one that we believe we can accommodate and cover with just simply adjusting some of the schedules on some of our current division needs projects so that we don't have to decommit any of those projects. We feel very confident that we will be able to do that. Obviously, if things change significantly on the financial realm, that could change. But based on what we know right now, we believe that while we won't get any new projects, the current projects that we have funded will simply be adjusted or delayed a little bit to accommodate for that.
So Pat, as we're
Yes, sir.
setting context for what you had just showed, or what John had shown about the projects, we have Baltimore Road, and then we have these other projects, 158, the intersection 801. The Baltimore Road project sort of falls into that category you're describing now, which is the TIP and the committed.
The Baltimore Road project is a committed project, and it is moving forward on its current schedule. Yes, sir.
The other projects
Yes.
fall into this 10-year window of the STIP 7.0, which is essentially you're saying we're probably going to mark time for a couple of years and come back to that and evaluate where those projects are, but there's not work today that can be committed on that at this
With
point?
one clarification, Mayor, and I'm glad you brought that up. The projects that we're looking at, that you all have supported, 801 widening, the US 158 widening projects, and the intersection project. We submitted it in various ways in hopes that we could get something in there. So all of those projects will compete on the regional impact category. We don't know where they fall right now. I will tell you that the intersection project that John went over, that was a little over $3 million, that one actually scored very well. Once all is said and done, we will have to see where that falls out, but that one has a fairly good chance at possibly receiving some funding under the regional impact category.
In that case, you have an intersection project that's roughly $3.5 million competing with an 801 widening project, which is 73.
Absolutely.
Right, so
You-
part
you
of the
see-
prioritization as well
you
as the
see
math of what's
dilemma that
available.
we're talking about right there. Yes, sir. Very good, very good.
Can you square one thing for me, just to make sure I understand the chart? So if I look at Region D, you got $458 million of available funding.
Yes.
If I go down to Division 7, there's a $184 million surplus, and there's a $15 million deficit in 9.
Exactly.
How does that square with the 458?
Very good question. All right, they are two completely different categories.
Okay.
The region, Division 7 and 9 are put together for that pot of money, which represents 30% of the total amount of funding available, okay? Statewide is 40%.
Gotcha.
Regional is 30, and then their last 30% is division needs. Every division, the regional funding is based mainly on population of that region. That's how that total number is allocated. On the division needs side, every division is allocated the same amount of money.
Gotcha.
And that number is, before all the stuff gets taken out of it, over a 10-year period is about $807 million. Every division gets the same thing. And what has occurred is, in Division 7 as opposed to Division 9, they simply did not have as many projects programmed in the division needs category as we did. We didn't lose any money. Nothing was taken away from Division 9. We just simply already had projects in the program, and that's what they're taking into consideration while we are 15 million over programmed. Division 7 did not. They had 184 million of available capacity because they didn't have as many projects as we did.
Good, thank you.
Okay? Try to keep this as simple. It can be very complicated, but thank you for your questions. So, I guess go ahead to the next, as we continue looking at the development of the TIP. Later this fall, I think we're in the process of assigning local input points now to the regional projects. Those projects will occur or will be rolled out September of this year. And then, of course, right after that, in December, will be the division needs. And of course, as we've already said, we're going to continue to assign points to those division needs projects. Right now, we don't think we've got any money for that. But we do this anyway for one very important reason. In years past, when after the TIP has been approved, Congress or the legislature could provide new programs that we're not anticipating that could provide some additional funding to the state that could be distributed. If we do get that, we have to have a way to go down the list to program those. So we still want to have that prioritization list there so that if we are fortunate enough to get some additional money that we're not expecting, we have a way to program that. So that's why we're continuing with that process. The draft TIP is scheduled to be released in January of next year.
Can I ask
Yes,
one more
sir.
question, Pat?
You
How is a
absolutely.
local input point achieved?
That is a complicated little thing that where you all work directly with the Winston-Salem MPO, of which you are a member.
Right.
I have 3 MPOs and 1 RPO in Division 9, and we work with every single one of them. And the beauty of STI, or Strategic Transportation Investments Law, is the fact that locals have a significant say in those projects that are approved and programmed, which heretofore you did not have that. So it's not just big DOT saying, we want you to have this project. You all, through the applying of local input points to projects that you support locally, you all get a significant say in those projects that move forward. That was one of the big benefits of STI.
So just for context, this is where the town of Bermuda Run, Ms. Benita Finney representing the Davie County Commissioners, and Louisville all joined forces and scored the 801 widening project as all of their points being applied to that, which the little town of Bermuda Run wound up scoring #1 on the MPO's list. So it's that input as part of that partnership. DOT has a scoring and approach, as well as the Winston-Salem MPO, which we're members of. So not only is it important to put your points against it, but it's also important to leverage relationships and collaborate with others who can apply their points so that you're able to move that higher on that ranking.
Absolutely. Very, very well put, Mayor. Thank you. It is probably the most critical part of STI. It is. So draft TIP comes out in January. We'll see where we fall and which projects on each level got put in there. And then, of course, there'll be some time to review, and the final TIP will be approved by the board the Board of Transportation the following summer. And then we'll start the process all over again, which brings me to my last point, is that we do feel, even though things appear to be a little bleak in terms of funding right now, we believe the next version, Prioritization 8.0, the next version may be a little bit better for two reasons. We hope that the inflation factor is leveling off. We're doing a much better job as a department, as is the MPO, getting better cost estimates for our projects, so there are no surprises. We also hope that inflation, again, will level off, and that is not as big an issue as it has been. And that is assuming that at least transportation revenues remain the same, if not better, than where we are today. If all of those things occur, we will be in a very good position in Prioritization 8.0 to hopefully address some of these really important needs that we may not be able to get to this year just because of the availability of funding. Okay?
Awesome.
Questions?
Yeah.
Pat or T?
I do.
Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
couple of questions. So do you know, has our state legislators come any closer on deciding how to generate revenue from electric vehicles?
My understanding is, looking at the last budget bill, I think they did make an adjustment in the fee, that the annual fee that EV owners pay.
Okay.
It increased substantially, not the same level as that they would pay if they had paid gas tax. But they are trying to fill that gap somewhat. But moving forward, when you talk about the gasoline tax, which, as you know, is our primary source of revenue for transportation, both on the state and federal side, it is simply not sustainable over the next 5 or 10 years for a couple of reasons. Number one, we've got the increased number of electric vehicles, but probably just as important is the gas-powered cars are there continue to get better and better mileage, which is reducing the number of gallons that people have to buy. So the revenue is going to go down as well. Right now, it has been remarkably stable over the last 5 years, and we believe over the next 3 or 4 we should be in good shape. But our leaders in Raleigh, and really a national problem, have got to really tackle that issue about how do we fund transportation moving forward, whether it's a vehicle miles travel tax, additional tolls. There's a whole menu of things that they can look at. And again, this is a national problem that I think that they're going to be looking at as well.
Well, it's certainly not, the intention, of course, is not to penalize people who drive the electric vehicles. I mean, that's a great choice if you're able to do it. But again, in our state, where our revenue is coming from the gas tax, I mean, you're using those highways, there's got to be another way to assess you for your
Well,
use of the highways.
And one of the things that a lot of people don't recognize is that electric vehicles are actually heavier than gas-powered cars. So extrapolate that out, they actually do more damage quicker to the
Interesting.
roadways.
Okay.
So very observant there. To that end, I laid one of these at your desk. DOT is asking for your input, and I will leave a supply of these with the clerk as well, if anybody in the audience would like to do it. We want to hear what you think about transportation, whether it's funding. I mean, this is very important to DOT that we get feedback from the citizens and the elected leaders so that policy-wise, we know what direction the citizens would like. So I hope you'll take advantage of that and do that.
Yeah, another question.
Yes, ma'am.
And again, thank you so much for being here tonight
Absolutely.
because it's incredibly insightful, and obviously everybody that lives in this area, you know, we're all very eager to have these projects get off the ground and help with our traffic. My second question, though, and this may be a conversation that I should have with the mayor because I think that's something that we've been pushing for. What does it take to get the speed limit reduced from 45 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour beginning at the town limits on 801? What can we do to change the speed limit there? Who can we appeal to?
Me. And Mr. Ryan. Obviously, by state law, there is a statutory speed limit of 35 that municipalities can introduce. We obviously worked with Bermuda Run in the past on US 158. I don't know how good that has worked, but obviously we've not gotten a lot of complaints or anything, and you all have handled that. We can look at that on other locations. Our concern as a department, when we set speed limits, we want to make sure that there's a reasonable expectation that they will be
People follow.
adhered to. And if you've got a road where it is very difficult to drive 35, that is the concern that we have. Obviously, you don't want to set a speed trap. That was one of the issues that we had on 158, but it appears primarily because of the roundabout, people are already going slower. People seem to have gotten used to it since it's been into effect a couple of years. 801, we can certainly take a look at that, but that is one of the big issues that we have, is making sure that we're not creating an unintended problem by artificially lowering a speed limit that you know that they can physically make that work. So, but yeah, we can certainly take a look at that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the idea of maybe putting a roundabout on 801, I'm the roundabout person. Pat knows this.
They
We put a
work.
roundabout
They work, Mayor.
at the east gate, then
Yes.
that automatically forms a way to
Exactly.
slow that down as well. But that's another conversation
And,
for another day.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I might just, as I end, just to say, I think many of you know, but if you don't, I have announced that I am retiring January 1st after 24 years as division engineer. It has been a wonderful partnership. I just wanted to thank you all. And, you know, all the councils of the past, we've all worked very closely together to develop a really good working relationship, as we have with all of our communities. And it has been wonderful. Looking forward to see what's next on the horizon for me, but we've got great folks like John Ryan and other people in the division that are just as anxious to carry that mantle moving forward. So I just wanted to say thank you for all that you all have meant to me and the department. Look forward to working with you maybe in another capacity after I leave. But anyway, it's been a pleasure, and I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
But a lot of residents over the last 2 months have asked a question that I don't know that we as the town council have an answer for, and it's, where does the DOT, we talked a lot tonight about maintenance and building roads and doing other things, but where does the DOT as far as upkeep and like, if I think about 801, a lot of questions come up on 801 going from the McDonald's to the interstate. Who's responsible for cleaning that road up? Is that a town function? Is that a DOT function?
Well,
A community function?
And I can turn that over to John Ryan.
There you go, John. Come on up.
He's more than happy to talk.
Come on up.
And before John comes up, let me also, Pat, thank you for your longstanding partnership with the town. I know I speak on behalf of former Mayor Rick Cross, and former councils. I will tell you, it is hard to imagine a division of this state that is as close partnership as it is with this small town. And every single time we reach out to Pat Ivey or his team, he returns our calls. We have those meetings, we have those discussions. Thank you for all that you've done for this town, and very good luck in your next transition of your career. Thank you.
John? Litter and maintenance. Obviously, maintenance falls upon DOT 801. There's county maintenance yard in Moxville, and they will respond if there's any maintenance needs. We just got to give them a call, get them engaged. Litter, we pay our mowing contractor to pick up litter once a month on primary routes, just like we do on the interstate. We mow I-40. We have a municipal agreement with the town that y'all maintain the planting, so y'all are maintaining the median there, and the planting is on the outside. So it's really a combination effort. If there's any particular issues at hand, we're happy to look at those. I don't know that our office has received any direct complaints, but I'm certainly happy to look at anything that comes up. I know there was an issue during construction out on the interstate when they were putting in all those plantings. Typically, we mow the interstate 4 times a year, pick up litter every month. During a construction contract, the contractor is required to mow, and our maintenance contract doesn't touch that area. And I know during that period of time, the mowing was overlooked. I think the town brought that to our attention. We had a conversation with the contractor, and he picked up mowing cycles more regularly. It's probably still not what you want, unfortunately, but it's better than it was. As that contract wraps up here in the coming months and we move into the maintenance or the warranty cycle of that, mowing will revert back to maintenance contracts. So it should return to kind of what it looked like before. And it'll clean up. As we go to the closeout of that contract, we'll do what's called a punch list with that contractor. And our folks will go out there and walk it and find all the little irregularities, get them to fix. We will also have them go through and pick up all the litter. So when they hand it off to us, it should look like it ought to. But if there are ever any needs, I would direct citizens to call our maintenance office over in Moxville, and I can get you that number. And they'll take care of any kind of needs that we may have. I know we're doing sweeping of the Crosby Bridge occasionally as it needs it as well. That's something that's come up in the past. There's just not enough traffic on the sides of the bridge to kind of keep it swept up.
I think it's just a question that comes up periodically, and folks ask about it, and at least we know what the direction.
Yeah, I would recommend what we do is we just direct residents, if there's an issue that arises, rather than have lots of folks calling the DOT, just reach out to the town manager, and then town manager can make that contact directly with you folks.
That's
so it can
fine.
be a little bit more orchestrated.
Andrew can find me day and night.
Andrew, you'll get the call.
I'm not going to look at Andrew to acknowledge
Yeah,
whether.
as you say.
Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you. Good. Thank you again. Is he looking at me yet? Not yet. Okay.
He was staring at you.
All right, moving on to item number 9, appointments to the Bermuda Run Vision Committee. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Bermuda Run Community Vision Committee is requesting the following be appointed for a 3-year term. Ms. Christy Bumgarner, Mr. Cody Chrisman, and Mrs. Kathy Ring to be appointed to the Bermuda Run Vision Committee. Including your package, you'll see that request by Ms. Sharon Reed for those appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Meadwell. Any questions by council for Mr. Meadwell?
Motion to approve.
A second.
I will.
Motion, you have something to say?
No, I was just going to say I second
Oh, okay.
enthusiastically.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Tedder, a second by Ms. Schaefer. Show of hands, approval? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, council.
Can I interrupt?
You can.
Can we please ask those folks who are here this evening who have just been appointed to stand so that we can recognize you and see your beautiful faces?
There you
Thank
go.
you very much.
Can I interject as well?
Sure.
I've known these folks sitting here and Kathy Ring, who is absent tonight,
for several years now. And I would like to say that they are such positive, wonderful additions to the Community Vision Fund Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9B, Project Ordinance Flags at Bermuda Run Overlook Project. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council is aware, we started working on this project earlier in the summer. We actually bid this project out twice to receive bids for this. Our original bid that came in was, I'd say that I was shocked is an understatement. But working with the contractor and trying to find ways to address these costs, I think we're at a good point to maybe not get a project that what was originally bidded, but a project that kind of checks all the boxes, the needs that was envisioned by the Vision Committee for this flag project. What you have before you tonight is the project ordinance, and what this does is creates the funds, where the funds are coming from to pay for the project. As you all know, this was not a project that was funded in our budget that was adopted in July. So what we are anticipating is a $140,000 construction cost, where $80,000 would be appropriated from our general fund balance from the town, and $60,000 would come from those funds that the Davie Community Foundation has as part of those fundraising activities. So staff is requesting approval of this to establish this funding sources and a budget for the proposed construction project.
Thank you. Just to add a little context to the $60,000, I want to shout out to the committee, some of those folks sitting up here, several of the folks sitting out there, the work that was done by this group of individuals that achieved that $60,000 did not go unnoticed. That was a very important, very critical part of this activity, whether it was the pavers, and I remember sitting in meetings and having those presentations and encouraging people in the community to sign up to purchase pavers, or whether it was donations, or whether it was businesses leaning in with various parts of this project. Although this wound up being $60,000 against $140,000, let's keep in mind that was $60,000 that was raised through those efforts. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that hard work and that dedication that committee did in driving this for what, probably 18 months worth of effort, if not longer, to achieve this. So it's great to see we're now nearing the point where people will stop asking the question, when will we have the project? And we can start pointing to the project is underway. So I just want to acknowledge everyone's hard work behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to get this work done. So questions by council for Mr. Meadwell? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Melinda, second by Mr. Ernst. All those in favor? 5-0, motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving swiftly along. Item number C, approval of Blythe Construction, doing business as Haynes Construction Paving Contract. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council is well aware, we also had a paving bid, a paving project request for proposals. This project, again, only received one bid the first time. We had to re-advertise. We received two bids the second time. And in your package, you do see the two bid amounts. The first Haynes paving, $705,724.10, and then Yadkin Valley at $797,000 plus. We and our engineers went back to Haynes and tried to find ways. One, to explain why the cost was what it was, and how we could adjust some of our practices, materials, engineering on that, so that we did not have to cut projects out or street segments out. It's to note that, you know, this is for 2 miles of street paving. I've included in your packages, and I think that this needs to be somewhat explained, is that we have PAL bill streets, which are streets that we as a town maintain that are separate than our non-PAL bill streets that we fund from our general fund, right? So we only have a certain amount of money that we can do for PAL bill streets, only a certain amount of money we can do for non-PAL bill streets. In your package too, you'll see those street segments that are being worked on or are part of this package. We're hoping that paving, we can get this contract approved, and the contractor can start sometime in September. We'll be sure to notify those residents that, hey, this is getting ready to happen, and they'll have the appropriate traffic control and things of that nature. But I think these are some of the things that we talked about in our budget planning workshop. These costs are not reducing. You know, we took our streets and created a 5-year kind of paving maintenance plan. We'll continue to revisit that, but you know, it's going to be very difficult to sustain this kind of method, this funding method that we have. So I think that we have some choices to make, but before you today is this contract to approve this paving contract in the amount of $635,943.18.
Can you remind council what the estimated budgeted amount for this same work was?
So, yeah, so our engineer estimated this at around $430,000 at bid price.
So let that sink in for a second. We estimated and thought this was going to be a $430,000 project to accomplish these road maintenance projects, and we received 2 bids back, one for 700-some thousand and the other almost 800,000. Thank you to the town manager for working through driving those costs down, but this will be a conversation we'll likely have every year.
Yep.
Because we have roads that have to be maintained. We have a limited number of contractors who want to participate in that work, and that ultimately that creates a model that says the cost per mile is going to be more and more and more expensive as we go forward, and that becomes one of our largest expense items, if not the largest expense item in our entire budget. So this will be something that we're going to have to continue to work on, but we've worked on ideas about how we could collaborate with other municipalities, et cetera. We just face some challenges here in how we can, as a town of our size, address our uniqueness in our size and limited number of roads that we can have repaired, and the dollars increasing year over year and it costs to do those repairs.
Yep.
So it's just a challenge we have. We'll take it head on, but it's not going to go away. It's likely to get worse. And so we're going to have to start to think about how do we plan for next year's budget. It makes no sense to plan 430,000. We already know that number is going to be north of 600,000. With inflation, we're probably talking 700,000 or 800,000. So we've now potentially doubled what our budget said this year versus what we think we're going to spend next year. So just want to plant that seed that this is a challenge that we will face because these costs are borne by the taxpayers, and this is a key part of what we spend in terms of our budget dollars. So with that, let me open up the council for any questions for the town manager.
Well, just one other point to what you just said for the residents that are here. One of the other issues you have with this paving is the fact there are less and less companies that deal with projects, small projects like this, because they have to bring all their equipment out, set it up, all that has a cost associated with it for just a little project. So they tend to go towards the bigger projects where it makes sense for them. So that's going to be an ongoing project. That's going to get worse because there's going to be less and less small contractors that do paving work. So we're hit three ways. The two ways he's talked about, we're hit with costs associated with it. But we have to do it because we don't want to go to dirt roads.
You're not making a motion, by the way.
No.
Okay, I want to make sure.
I just want to bring everybody's attention to what's on the screen. So we had 2 bids, is that right?
Correct.
We had Haynes, and then we had Yadkin Valley, what we're looking at on the screen. So Haynes came in less, and then with our town manager's efforts and energy, it appears that the Haynes bid of $700,000, you were able to work with the contractors and get that reduced over $69,000, so almost a 10% reduction, bringing it down to $635,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
If no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Tedder, second by Mr. Ernst. Council, show of hands. 5-0. Thank you, council. Item number D, approval of purchase and procurement policy. Mr. Meadwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If council recalls, some of you may recall, sometime probably 2 years ago, we were tasked when we received the ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan Act, coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds. We were required to adopt a series of different policies. Lucky for us, we had the School of Government to help assist us, and not only us, but other municipalities, small and large counties, in developing templates for this. As we were working with some auditors with in relationship to our asset inventory assessment grant that we received, we found that this policy had not been adopted, as it was later required later on after we had finished those different policies. So what you have before you tonight is that policy. This complies with their requirements for these funds, as well as I mentioned, this is the UNC School of Government template that we followed for this. So I feel very comfortable with this, as other municipalities, counties are using this same policy. And the policy is steeped in what general statute requires, which we're obligated to follow statute regardless. So.
I move that we adopt it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ernst, second by Ms. Zeliga. Council, show of hands approval. Council approves 5-0. Thank you, council. Item 10, town manager report, comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you see we have some big projects getting ready to occur. The Flags at Bermuda Run construction contract will be before you at your next meeting. So I'm already working and in conversation with the contractor, trying to establish when those construction dates can begin. As I mentioned, the paving contractor should start in September. We're probably looking at a 40 to 50 day kind of construction activity process, just trying to set that equipment up on the various streets that we have identified. So as I mentioned, we're going to make sure we send out the proper notifications just to let people know. Probably the Bing Crosby paving will probably be the more problematic, just because you have so many of those intersecting kind of driveways and the one-way and things like that. But we've talked with the contractor with their traffic control, so they're well aware of what they need to do. Secondly, I just wanted to just kind of brief council in that, we're starting to receive calls and questions about political signs. We're in that window, before the early voting starts. So, a lot of questions in regards to what you can have and what you can't have. The town of Bermuda Run does regulate political signs as a temporary sign. So those requirements are in the ordinance. But we also follow what state statute requires in regards to road right-of-ways. So you're allowed to place political signs on NCDOT right-of-way and on our own town street right-of-ways. So if you see that, there's a complaint process that you can call NCDOT for those in the DOT right-of-way. You're more welcome to call Town Hall on that as well. So Melissa at the Board of Elections hands this material out to candidates. If you're still unsure of what you need to do, please reach out to her, reach out to staff. We can kind of direct you, but it's just that time of season. So they're going to be out. But, you know, I think that really they're allowed to do it, but they're also required, I think it's 10 days after the election that they have to retrieve those signs. And if they don't do that, then, you know, obviously we'll clean them up. So, but other than that, just let the council know. We've received several calls in regards to that. So other than that, that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, thank Mr. Ivy, but he's obviously not here, but I still want to thank him. So give him good thoughts. Thank you all for attending tonight. Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc, for sharing that very valuable information regarding dispelling what oftentimes we see in social media and other commentary with some of our experts that appear to pop up from time to time. It's great to have someone who's steeped in this and can communicate this and share this information to us, but also in social media as well to help dispel some of that misinformation. So I thank you for what you did and also what you do in service to our county and our voters. Yesterday evening, I had the opportunity to have in Town Hall Davey Respect Initiative. Some of you may recognize that organization. We had two young ladies here last night who received the award of Ambassadors of Respect for their projects. One was Miss Ava Brown from Bermuda Run. Second was Miss Charlotte Anderson from Moxville. So they were able to come here last night. I had the honor to be able to meet them, had them talk about their projects, and they were given not only an award, but also a check for $1,000. So it's a great opportunity for people to know more about what Davey Respect's all about. I did invite them to come and speak at a future town council meeting, likely to be in the November meeting. So those of you that would be interested in knowing more about that effort and that initiative and the good things that young folks are doing as part of that program, I encourage you to attend and participate in that. Also, a little bit of a downer here, but I'll bring it up anyway. So most of you have now received your 2024 property tax bills. As he looks the crowd over to make sure there's no tomatoes starting to be launched. In that mailing, there was a flyer that explained the reappraisal or the revaluation process. So as a reminder, Davie County, every 4 years, goes through a reappraisal of all the properties. This is all driven by the county and driven through the tax department. This process will involve a reappraisal of every home, every parcel across the entire county, obviously including Bermuda Run. When that work is done, that is supposed to be done by the end of the year. That will then be reflected in your new tax assessment appraisal documents that should be available around the January-February timeframe. I've asked the tax department to come to one of our town council meetings later this year and give a presentation explaining that process, explaining sort of how they go through the reappraisal process. They really can't come here to do that until they've finished their work, and then that's really, in my mind, signed off by the county commissioners so that it's sort of etched in stone, and then it allows them to communicate that out, and they'll be happy to come here and give that presentation. So once we're able to lock in what that date is, perhaps the December council meeting, I'm thinking off the top of my head, but I'm thinking maybe in that time frame, or January, we'll have them come and speak, because I believe those numbers that we're going to see after the last 4 years, in looking at your grocery prices and your gas prices and everything else going up in inflation, it's hard for me to imagine property taxes relative to your appraisals. The taxes themselves may not go up, but the net dollars against that new appraised value will. So stay tuned. I do think that'll be important to understand that, and certainly I'll encourage folks to make sure you go online and understand that in the January, February timeframe before you get to this time next year, and that tax bill shows up in the mail, and then you start ringing their phone. So more to come on that, but I wanted to let everyone know to expect that in terms of an upcoming presentation from the tax office. Andrew spoke about this earlier, but I'm just going to note this. Whether it's roads and sidewalk maintenance projects, new pedestrian trails, flag project, sewer project, stormwater projects, land use and zoning projects, gate operations. Let me just say, there's a lot that's happening in this town. We are the ducks that have the feet going real quick below the water line. So there's a lot of work happening, a lot of hard work. Shout out again to Andrew and staff. The amount of work that comes through that small group in this town is amazing, and the work that they do and the support they provide is incredible. So just want all of you to know that even when it's a slow day, it's not a slow day, just so you understand that. We have our third concert of the season on August 31st. Anyone who comes to concerts and recognizes the name Envision knows just how full that town green will be. They are an incredibly popular group. Please come join us, 7 o'clock. If you show up at 7 o'clock, you're probably going to park over at McDonald's. So my recommendation is get here early, plan your spot, because it's going to be a wonderful evening, weather permitting. But it's a great entertainment, great evening, and thank you again for the partnership that we have with Davie Arts Council around that. For next month's Town Council meeting, I have invited Suzanne Wright from Davie County Health and Human Services to join us and present. For those of you who may not know this, Health and Human Services includes public health, social services, senior services, violence protection, and veteran services. So Suzanne has a broad net of responsibility for this county, and I'd love to have her come and speak to us next month and just give an overview of those different organizations. Many of those organizations touch many folks within Bermuda Run and beyond, and I think it'd be a great opportunity for you to see Suzanne and have her present to you what her organization does. It touches an awful lot of people in very positive ways for our county. Also, you should soon be seeing banners around town celebrating the 25th anniversary. I'm going to end my comments now and hand it over to Christy to have Christy speak to the 25th anniversary.
The 25th anniversary is upon us. I believe the banners will be going up very soon. Is that pretty much? Yes, they'll be up. They're terrific looking. These are the small ones. We have very large scale ones that'll be up at the intersection. They'll stay up through the end of the year. The Community Vision Fund did a great job, and Angel Jackson and her designs to create this just did beautiful, beautiful work. But that's not all we're doing for the 25th anniversary. There'll be some celebrations, and they're going to take place in September. The weekend of September 27th, we'll have a Food Truck Friday, but it's going to be an enhanced Food Truck Friday celebration for the 25th. You'll bring your lawn chairs as usual, and your picnic blankets and your coolers, and they'll be Pushin' Georgia from Kinderton. We're calling them our house band now. They do so much for us and appeal to everyone. There's going to be some giveaways this time, some gift card giveaways. Sharon, I believe 25 gift cards for 25 years. $5. For restaurants, and our local merchants have all donated those. There'll be food trucks, a wide variety of food trucks this time, so there'll be some tastes for everyone. Maddie Cakes has donated birthday cake for the town. We'll have birthday cake slices for everyone that comes, as long as it lasts. Mr. Marvel's Balloons and Magic Show will be here for the kids. Games, again, by Dee's Cloud Bounce and Party Rentals. They do a great job. Jason's Italian Ice will be providing ices for everyone, so a little celebration there. There'll be face painting for the children, and Lowe's Foods is going to provide complimentary cookies. So it should be a really lovely evening, September 27th, 5 to 8 p.m. Hopefully, the weather will be delightful, real family-friendly event. So you'll see much more publicity on this event in the coming weeks. And then to wrap up the weekend, we have the North Tower Band coming that Saturday night for our final concert. And there'll be some surprise goodies there as well for the crowd. So a way to celebrate our town. I hope all of you will participate in it. And it's going to be a fun weekend.
Thank you, Christie. Well done. Any other council comments?
Thank you. For me, just the DOT was enlightening.
Great.
Thanks for bringing them.
Actually, I wanted to share with everyone, and Cindy is going to post this on the board at the lobby, as well as having a couple of flyers to hand out. There's a partnership with the Davie Community Foundation, the Davie County Chamber of Commerce, and the Davidson-Davie Community College, and it's called Venture Davie. It's actually a 3-month program that is absolutely free for the folks who attend, that will help these individuals either get an existing business more successful, help folks with their business plan, or if there's someone who's about to start a business, these are courses that just really help them get their business off the ground. There will be special speakers coming to these classes, and what I think is very exciting is that this year they've decided to host this right next door at the Davidson-Davie Community Campus here in the town of Bermuda Run. So I'm delighted that they're choosing to use that space. Again, this is completely free. If you know anyone who is interested in starting a business or who might just need some extra boost to their existing business, the registration must be submitted by, very quickly approaching, August 30th, and the first class begins on September the 10th. So this is a great opportunity. Last year they did it, and they actually had some angel sponsors at the end who actually gave financial backing to the participants. They are not doing it this year, that piece of it, but again, the wealth of knowledge that these folks will gain attending the classes, and again, this program is at no charge to them, is amazing. So I just wanted to put that out there, and thank you, Cindy, for sharing that. I also have something else to share with those of you who are here this evening and those who are watching or who will watch our program later. It is with great sadness, but with also great excitement, that I'm tendering my resignation from the town council, effective tomorrow. I have considered this quite a lot, and with deep reflection, and have decided that I'm going to be taking advantage of an opportunity to forward my career. Again, I have just learned so much in my role as your town councilwoman, and it has been quite an honor and a delight. I wish I could do both, but I do not think it would be to the advantage of the town or to my new opportunity to try to do that. So I'm recognizing that it is in the best interest for me to step aside. However, having said that, I am a member, a volunteer with the Community Vision Fund Committee, and I will continue to volunteer with that committee, and I'm sure that the council members up here will have another face that they recognize sitting over on your side. So for our town council meetings, I will be on the opposite side of the dais. But again, I want to say thank you to the residents who have supported me in this role, and for those who have challenged me in this role. I have really enjoyed, frankly, maturing and trying to see things from different perspectives, and I've enjoyed that, and it's been quite interesting to work with the staff and to see all of the efforts that go on that from the outside, most folks just don't know. So it does help me become even more appreciative of my colleagues that are sitting up here and the staff who serve our town. So with that, thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.
Thank you, Melinda. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tedder, second by Mr. Ernst. Show of hands. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.